You're listening to the Talk Box Sign. You're listening to the Talk Box. Let's talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Yeah, you're listening to the Talk Box Sign. You're listening to the Talk Box. Let's talk about it. Talk about it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Talk about it.
All right, good morning, you guys. Rise and shine. It's your girl here on the Talk Box. So I want to welcome you, welcome again. You know what we say here on the Talk Box? Every day above ground is a good day. And now we got another opportunity to get some things right that we didn't have quite right on yesterday. You guys, we're in for a treat. We have Dr. Michael Jones on the line with us today, and we're going to be talking about shattered expectations. I don't know about you, but when God is trying to do something in your life, a lot of times, the enemy will come in and try to shatter all of your expectations. But we got the good doctor on the line today who's going to help us work our way through this thing. Welcome, Dr. Jones. How are you?
I am great. Thank you for having me in this morning. Just looking forward to having a good time here, expounding on the word of the Lord.
All right then. All right. So when you hear the expression shattered expectations, what comes to your mind?
What comes to my mind is broken promises, broken dreams, something that is broken. We expect a lot in life. And we can go, straight to the Bible where we're expecting Christ's return. But we're talking about this morning is shattered expectations, expectations that sometimes become shortfalls, things that we think should go right, but in essence, they go wrong. And I guess this morning we're going to cover a bunch of shattered expectations, right down to shattered relationships and expectations as far as how you would think that your marriage should go, how we expect it to be, how we see our parents' relationships, especially men. And I'll just jump straight on in there. My mama, she's a good cook. And mama's a good housekeeper, and expectation says that this is the type of woman that I would end up marrying. But shattered expectations meant that this woman that you may marry, she may not be nothing like your mama. She may not like to cook. Guess what? She may not even like to clean. You might have to hire a housekeeper. But that's a shattered expectation because you were expecting one thing, and you got another.
That is the good meat of that. And so what I think about with shattered expectations is what shattered expectations brings about. Shattered expectations brings about frustration. Yes. I can speak for myself. I expect my husband to do certain things, and he don't do nothing the way I want him to do it. Those are shattered expectations. And if we harp on those things, if we harp on shattered expectations, we'll walk out on good jobs that we have. We'll walk out on good relationships.
Yes.
We'll make the wrong decisions because of shattered expectations. But one way I look at that to get around that is saying this, that all things is working together for my good because I love him.
That's right.
So we got to stop letting shattered expectations knock us off our game.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Let me read this real quick. Expectations can be high or low, reasonable or unreasonable, good or bad. The Bible speaks of expectations or of redemption, expectations of judgment, delayed expectations, or realized expectations, unrealized expectations. Jesus told us to expect his return, although the timing of his return is beyond our knowing. Be ready, because the Son of Man will come at any hour. When we not least expecting him? And we can go here to Luke 12:40. It says, "Be ye therefore ready also, for the Son of Man cometh at an hour when ye think not." So, I mean, the expectation, our expectation is that he's coming. And I mean, expectations as far as us being human, when we see the sun, when we see a pink sky, our expectation is behind that pinkish is that the sun is getting ready to come up. But it could be a false realization that the sun is getting ready to shine in our area. It could be shining on the other side of town, and it still could be kind of gloom on our side of town. Just because we see the pink doesn't mean that the sun is going to shine in our area. It meant that it's coming up somewhere, but it may not be right there where we're at. So our expectation is that it's coming, but it's not there. So we are to expect his coming. And the shatteredness of it all is that it does become disheartening at times when we expect, especially like you said, your mates. When we expect our mate to do one thing and he does another, the expectation is for us as mates, and I'm going to speak on myself real quick, if you don't mind. As a mate, the expectation that my wife had for me is for me to be a husband that took care of the household and went to work daily and was faithful to her. Now, I've been married for 30 years, and in all those 30 years, I can say that my wife, she has had some turmoil with me because I am a man. But thank God for deliverance.
All right.
If it had not been for deliverance, then I would still be caught up in the same rut that I was caught up in all those years ago. But because of Christ forgave me, and because I know who I am now in Christ, I expect him to do exceedingly abundantly above all that I can think.
Ever.
Yeah. And so go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say, I said that shattered expectations leads to disappointment, frustration, and even anger. Because as wives, I expect my husband to be faithful. I expect my husband to love on me. I expect we have expectations, and then when our expectations are shattered, then we have to. I feel, since you brought it up, I feel like that in that type of situations, we have to also be thankful for the wife, or if it's the husband, either way, the grace and mercy that they showed, and it could only be through Christ, that Tanika was able to show you some grace and to show you some mercy. And to look beyond, see, every day that we get up, we got a choice and a chance to do something different. And every day, for me personally, I strive to be more and more like my big brother, Jesus Christ.
Yes.
And what he did was he looked beyond all of my faults. And he still provide my needs. So as a wife, and I know this sounds old-timey, but the truth of the matter is God's way still works. So as a wife, I have to look beyond my husband's faults and still provide his needs.
Yes.
Likewise, he got to look beyond us and still provide my needs.
Yes.
But those expectations will throw you off.
Yes.
Shattered expectations will lead you to be disappointed, broke, busted, and disgusted, frustrated, and then eventually angry.
Yes.
And so we need to learn how to deal with shattered expectations.
Yes. Now, speaking of disappointment, I remember when I was a boy, and everyone in my neighborhood, and especially everyone that I went to school with, they were riding around on these scooters at the time that they called sprees. And I wanted one so bad. And Christmas was coming up, and I asked my father, could I have one? And my mama, she was against it. But daddy, he said, we'll see. Well, I'm a nosy individual. So during Christmas time, me and my sister, we got together and we snooped around the house, and I saw a spree. And I told my sister, I said, we got us a spree for Christmas. We found all of the presents. And I said, we got us a spree for Christmas. It's going to be the best Christmas ever. Christmas morning came, and I opened all of the presents. I looked at my dad and my mom, and I said, is there something missing? And my mama, she said, what do you mean? Is there something missing? Now, my mom, in her mind, she was like, you are ungrateful.
Right.
So my dad, he looked and he said, no, son. He said, there's nothing missing. And so I said, I don't understand. And he said, what do you mean? Well, I didn't want to get in trouble by telling them that I had saw all the gifts and saw the spree. So I kept my mouth shut, talked to my sister, and said, where is the spree? I'm shattered. Yeah. Expectations shattered.
Busted.
Now I'm disappointed because I have no spree. So I had to finally fess up to my parents that we had investigated and found that there was a spree. And so my mom, she finally told me that, yeah, there was, but I convinced your daddy to take it back because I thought it was unsafe. Still shattered expectation, disappointment. But see, the things that disappoint us sometimes, I mean, what disappoint us, sometimes it can be for our good.
Right.
And we don't realize that it's really for our good. Because
I'm sorry, I'll tell you another way to look at that too. Had you not been nosy, see, you wouldn't have even known.
I wouldn't have known.
You didn't have it.
Or
you can go to another higher plane and because you were nosy, the Spirit of the Lord moved up on your mother.
Yes.
To move and tell your dad to take it back. See, sometimes when we get our expectations up so high and your expectations is not lining up with God's will for your life, then we're gonna be disappointed.
Yes.
But anything that's contrary to God's will, that's a good disappointment. Why?
That's a good disappointment.
He knows what we need when we need.
Yes.
And see, sometimes think about it. She thought that it was too dangerous for you at the time.
Right.
Maybe that wasn't the right season. Maybe if you had waited another year till you grew a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger, and that would help pad those shattered expectations.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I was 14 years old, and I mean, a 14-year-old boy, in the city, on those little motor scooters, we ran everywhere. So I mean, it was dangerous, and so mother did know best. So it was a good disappointment. At the time, I may have not thought that it was a good disappointment because I was there stuck with my lip out,
Right.
pouting. But as I look over the time now, I see that mom, she had the sense of protection to
Right.
keep me from harming myself because mama knew me.
And mama knows best.
That's right. Mama knew that I was going to act a fool on that thing. And see, and that's how God is with us, when expectations, but expectations delayed now, I mean, they're just delayed. That don't mean that he didn't say that whatever you're expecting to come isn't going to come. You just can't handle it right now. I mean, we all pray for big lump sums of money, and I'm guilty. I'm guilty, church folk. I'm guilty, saints. I pray for big lump sums of money, but I've heard my father say the time isn't now the right time. Because see, sometimes we can just squander away everything that he has given us. I remember, being young and having tons of money, and throughout my lifetime, I have probably spent millions of dollars, and the timing of having big significant amounts of money in my bank account that I pray about, God said, no, not yet.
Oh, not yet.
Not yet. Not yet. And you say, oh, well, that can't be a God. That can't be a God. God wants to bless his people. I'm a tithing person, but guess what? You might be a tithing person, and God is giving you what you need.
That's right.
To get by. But God ain't giving you the big amount of money that you need because he know that you can't handle it yet. But when it's your season of handling it, then that's when he'll give it to you.
True. Well, here's the thing, Dr. Jones. I asked the question, what do you do with shattered expectations? And I want you to expound on these. I have five of them. We're going to expound on them kind of briefly here.
Okay.
The first thing that we need to do is grieve. You have to grieve though. When you have shattered expectations, you don't leave it all bottled up. Communication rules the nation. So grieve. Don't push it out the way or put it to the back of your mind because something else happened, you're gonna explode. What do you think about that?
That is a great analogy. You've got to have someone in your camp to talk to. Yes, but because you can't talk to everyone. Everything that God shares or shows you is not meant for everyone. But you've got to have someone that you can talk to. You got to have somebody as you are pouring out that can pour into you. So yeah, grieving is a great part of this here, because if you don't get it out, then it's going to bottle up, and guess what? When something bottle up, it has so much pressure, it's going to explode.
Right. Well, the next one that I got down, I said, in order to, what do you do about shattered expectation? Number 2, identify what you can. You identify what you can, because sometimes bad things just happen to good people.
Oh yeah. So. You have to realize that everything may not be under your control.
That's right.
That some things that you can control, and there's some things that you can't. So you have to realize that some of your expectations may not be realistic. So you have to take and analyze what's realistic and what isn't.
Right.
And based upon your expectation, make a clear conscious judgment and move on.
Right. So number 3, this is a good one. One reason why so many of us is stuck. It's like we stuck in the doggone matrix or something. Stuff keep coming
Ooh.
up and up and up from shattered expectation. That you need to know is you got to look. Hold on, you got to look for the lesson.
Yes.
You got to look for the lesson in it. Because what happens is we end up going round and round the mountain because we didn't get it right the first time.
Mm-hmm.
There was an exit door on the mountain so that you didn't have to keep going round and round. But because you didn't look for the lesson,
that's
the
right.
clues on the side of the wall. So number 3 is look for the lesson. What you
That's
got?
enough. That's enough said there. I mean, for everything that we do, there is a lesson. And that's, I mean, it's clear cut. That's enough said. Look for the lesson. In everything that we do, there is a lesson. Straight down to a little baby taking his first steps and falling. The lesson is to find stability. Straight down to them crawling into the kitchen and raising up on furniture and touching the stove for the first time. The lesson is that it's hot. And that means that I can't touch this. So there's a lesson in everything in this old life. There's a lesson.
Look for it and find it. Number 4, when you have shattered, you've got to decide, make a decision to move on.
Yes, not moving on will cause you to go back to number 1, grieving. Shattered expectations and expecting, especially when it comes to individuals in your life, expecting too much out of them and they don't live up to your expectation. It will cause you to grieve. And guess what? It'll cause you to go into depression. And it will attack your mental health. And you will find yourself stinking in your bed where nobody can get you up because of depression, because of expectations that you had on somebody else. And guess what? If that person, him or she, got that much power to continue to live in your head, rent free, woe unto you.
Right. So we're going to decide to move on.
Yeah.
And the 5th one that came up is know that God is in control. All things work together for the good of those who love God, who are called according to his purpose. He said there is a season for all things, a season to laugh, a season to cry. He says for us, don't grow weary in your well-doing. For in due season we shall reap if we faint not. A lot of times, Dr. Jones, I believe, and I've been corporate of this before, we will allow shattered expectations to keep us in bondage. We'll allow shattered expectations to keep us from going forward. We'll allow something that John did to me back in 1920. Now that God done sent me a boat, a ship, a plane, and a helicopter, I done sat there and drowned because I didn't take advantage of the blessings around me because I was stuck because of shattered expectation. But God is in control.
That's right. And you know, that leads me to tell you a story before we end, that God is in control. God sent me to a job and I prayed about it, and individuals they prayed for me, and the people there, they were Christian, and every year around the same time I had experienced a layoff, and it was right before Christmas. My expectation was that I wasn't going to be on this job. And during the first year, I started to slack in the month of November.
Mm.
And my boss came to me and he asked me what was the problem. And I said, well, aren't I up for a review yet? And he said, well, yeah. And I said, well, I'm pretty sure my review is not pleasant. And so I'll go ahead and take it now. And he said, what are you talking about? I said, the pink slip. And he said, were you expecting a pink slip? And I said, yeah. I said, since I have gotten out of school and started my little family, I've not held a job in December to March. So I'm expecting that you're probably going to fire me. And he said, well, no, remember we prayed and God spoke, and that's the reason why you got this job is that I went to you, I went to the higher ups and I spoke good of you, and you're here. And I was the first African-American at this particular company. So I really, really thought that at this given time, I was going to be fired. But I had done a good job up until that point. But I was expecting that I was going to get fired.
Mm-hmm.
But all along, God was in control.
Right.
And once I realized that God was in control, I stayed at that job for 17 and a half years.
Wow.
17 and a half years. So I thought I was going to be fired and was there for 17 and a half years and went from being the low man on the totem pole to operating 3 offices because God was in control.
That's right.
So we have to know that God is in control of all things. And just like you said, keep God first. In all things, acknowledge him. And guess what? He will direct your path.
Well, thank you so very much, Dr. Michael Jones, for being our guest on today. We appreciate you coming on, speaking on shattered expectations. And one thing I want to leave with you is this. When we allow our expectations to be shattered, that's when it's unhealthy. We're not going to always get what we expect all the time. And sometimes you just need to expect the unexpected because God says his ways are not like your ways. His thoughts are not like your thoughts. So when we start looking to him for the agenda, instead of looking for what I want, what I need, what I see, what I can gather, then we'll have less and less shattered expectations. Dr. Jones, thank you so very much and so kindly for being my special guest on today, walking us and into our morning motivation on this journey while we are on our journey to abundant living. And I'm so thankful for you being a guest today. And you guys make sure that you're subscribing to my YouTube channel, the Talk Box Show with Sonia. You guys, you can go in and look at the past shows, and I would greatly, greatly appreciate it. And thanks again for going ahead and share the live with your friends, your family, and your frenemies. Because if we can keep them frenemies at bay, that's more abundant living for us. And I just want to leave you with this. Remember that God has given us permission and the authority to live an abundant life. God bless you, and we'll see you tomorrow, same time, same place.
Let's talk about it. Yeah, you're listening to the Talk Box with Sonia.